Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be trying out a new paint stripper I just got in. It's called StripPaint 9900 from General Chemical Corporation. And it only had a couple reviews, but they were very positive. They said this stuff really works well. So I'm looking forward to trying it out on these train horns. This is based on benzyl alcohol, and then it has some proprietary additives. Of course, they don't say what they are. But the benzyl alcohol is something you'll find in some of these so-called green paint strippers. You'll get at the hardware store now. Now that they're phasing out methylene chloride or solvent-based strippers, now you're going to see the like formic acid and I don't know. There's a bunch of different formulations, but one that you see a lot is the benzyl alcohol. Apparently it's very good at removing paint. So what I'm going to try it on here today is these train horns. This paint in particular is extremely resistant to blasting. I'd say about 95% of the paint that comes in the shop, like if I get a motorcycle case or automotive or something like that, the paint will readily blast off with the fine abrasive I use. It's like flour, it's crushed glass, and it will just blast it right off very easily. However, there are some paints like these horns run into Land Rover, Range Rover manifolds that have a very heavy-duty coating that will not blast off very easily. So you have to have something that will chemically remove it without harming the aluminum. And this is aluminum safe. Now, what it says to do on here is to mix it half and half with water and then heat it to 185 degrees. So what I have here, this is my old ultrasonic cleaner that doesn't work anymore. The electronics went on it several years ago, but I kept it around because, well, I'm a pack rat, first of all, but second of all, it's a stainless steel tub with a built-in heater. I realize it's a little bit on the crude side because I have it sitting outside, but one of the things in the technical data sheet is they say don't expose yourself to the vapors coming off this. Use a respirator rated for filtering out organic vapors. So I don't want to, in other words, I don't want to have this inside my shop until I get some sort of fume hood or some setup outside under roof where I can use this, because I don't want to breathe this in. So here's a look at the solution itself, and it separates out quite quickly. It's alcohol and water, and even though it's alcohol, it still separates, like I said, quite quickly, so I have to mix it up. And it was white when it was new, but there's some dissolved red paint in there now, and I just want to mix that up. It's up to about 180 degrees right now. Now, I didn't get enough here to totally submerge these horns, but it still works. So I'm going to put it in there for approximately an hour. It starts working in about 20 minutes though. And it'll start working on the coating immediately. I'm going to flip that over because it keeps... You can see some of the red starting to dissolve in the alcohol already. So this thermometer, or this thermocouple is kind of awkward in here. I had to come up with something different. Okay. So let's put that in the simmer for about, I also have a couple other parts here. I have a cap. Now this paint isn't as hard to remove as that red paint is. So I'm going to put that in there. And let's also test a part. This is polyester powder coating, and this is extremely resilient to blasting. So let's see how it holds up to this. Hopefully it comes off. And keep that thermocouple toward the top so I get an accurate reading. Let's go ahead and let this simmer. anywhere from 40 minutes to 60 minutes. It starts working in about 20, but 40 to 60 is the sweet spot where it really starts removing paint. So let's let that sit for a while and come back to it shortly. So we're at, you can see there, about 45 minutes, and I want to check on these parts and roll that horn over. I should have done that earlier, but I'll do it now. I don't think it'll hurt. Let's check. Oh yeah, definitely working. Now you see this part, see how that's just flaking right off the aluminum. I'm going to roll this over. It's kind of like draped over it now, that paint. And I'm going to put it in there. Hopefully it stays in place. Everything is so slippery in this, it's hard to keep stuff from flipping over. As you can see, it's just kind of sitting on there like a loose piece of clothing. So that's cool. So one of the things that they say to do here is to use hollow polypropylene balls and float them on the surface, especially when it's heated. And what they do is, since they're floating on the surface, they cut down, they basically make like a blanket, and it cuts down on the rate of evaporation due to the decreased surface area. So that's common with laboratory baths. They'll put those hollow balls in there to keep the liquids from evaporating into the room. I don't have those on order yet, but I'm going to very soon. I found a deal, or I found them on sale on Amazon, so I'm going to pick up a couple bags of those and put them in there. Hopefully that will save me from having to buy so much product, because it is, even though it's reasonably priced, it's still not what you call cheap. So let's let that in there for another 10 minutes and come back to it. So you see we're at the hour mark here, and keep in mind that I rolled that one horn over at 50 minutes, so it's only had 10 minutes to soak at that temperature. So we'll see how this turned out. I'd say that worked pretty well. That's crazy. I mean, I didn't have to scrub that. A little bit on the inside. I have a bottle brush here. I'm just going to go over the inside, take the rest of that out. As you can see, it totally removed that paint with almost no handwork at all. So that's really something, considering how difficult that paint is to work with. So I'll set that on that cardboard there. Let's check out the other pieces. Well, there's the blue polyester powder coating. That's powder coat, that came right off. A little bit on the inside, but I'm not worried about that. Yeah, but that's as clean as can be. A little bit on the inside I can hit with a bottle brush, but I'm not worried about it. That was just a test piece anyway. And here's that cap. That stuff fell off too. Now you definitely want to wear a respirator. These fumes are pretty nasty. Now, I'm just doing it here for a couple minutes while the camera's on, but this will be the last time I do that. So this is how they turn out. After I stripped the paint off, I scrubbed them with some detergent to get that benzyl alcohol off. It's kind of oily, and the instructions say to use a power washer to rinse them off, but not only did I not feel like getting the power washer out, but I also didn't want to use a power washer on light parts like this. You know, I figured they might end up in the next county if I hit them with, you know, 3,000 psi. So what I did is I just put them in some detergent water and a scrub brush, and I you know, just cleaned them up, rinsed them off with a garden hose, and they're all dried off, and they're ready to go into the abrasive blaster to get the oxidation off. But you can see the original sandblasting they did here. I didn't do that here. This is a rough sandblasting that they did to prepare the casting for paint. And this one here has you can see where they did a repair on it at some point, a weld. You can tell because there's porosity around the weld pool. Castings always do that. You see where they they sanded it out. They did a nice job on it, actually. I didn't know that before I took the paint off. So anyway, that's pretty much it. A little bit of corrosion around the holes here. It's not unusual. The moisture gets underneath the paint. So this one here, gotta take the O-ring out. That's ready to go. But anyway, this saved a whole lot of time for me, a tremendous amount of time, because I was using acetone before. And even though acetone takes a lot of the paint off, as you saw whenever I was cleaning this off, it's really thick in these areas, and acetone just wouldn't take that off. And I had to take a blade in there and brushes and work on all that stuff and try to get that resolved. And half the time I'd end up having to blast that. And another place too is, it was either on the top or the bottom of the bells. There'd be sags and runs. And the paint is really thick there, and acetone just wouldn't take it off. So that's a big time saver for me. And here's the powder coated part. Removed that quite nicely. And that's good to know too. It's still got the phosphate coating on it, but it did remove the powder coating very well. And that's handy to have here too, because sometimes you screw up, you know, powder coating and you need to get it off. And now I have a tool to do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll put a link to the supplier of this paint stripper and down in the description there. And I hope it helps you out too. But just remember the safety aspects of that. Don't put this in your shop and breathe in these vapors. But it does work extremely well. I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, so the paint stripper bath is up to 185 degrees Fahrenheit once again, and I'm going to go ahead and finish up this job since the camera's set up. I have 2 more bells and 2 more caps to submerge, and then that will be all of them for this job. Now, the one things I wanted to mention that you should be using with this stuff is, of course, safety glasses and a respirator that's rated for organic vapors. So I'm going to go ahead and slip those on. And I will see if I can get these to strip within 40 minutes instead of an hour. I'm just out of curiosity. It's no big deal, but I just want to see if it'll do the same thing in 40 minutes. We're 20 minutes into the paint stripping process on these last two horns, so I want to see how well they're doing. So as you can see, the strip is starting to, or the paint is starting to melt off, but it's not totally separated from the base material. So I'm going to come back at 40 minutes, at the 40-minute mark, and do another check. Alright, this is the 40-minute mark. I probably could take those out and scrub that paint off, but it's not as good as it was before at 1 hour. So I'm just going to leave that in there the remaining 15 to 20 minutes, and it's really not costing anything to do that. You know, the tank is insulated, so I don't have to put a whole lot of heat into it or anything in those last 20 minutes. So I'm going to let them in there for an hour, and it should be like it was last time. Okay, we're at the hour mark now, so these should be wrapping up here. Tell you what, that was an hour, but I'm going to leave that in there for another 10 minutes to get a complete separation. Some of the quality control on the paint on these wasn't so good, so you have some areas that literally are like an 1/8 inch thick where the paint sagged and ran. So I'm finding those are taking a little bit longer to separate, but I mean I could brush them off technically here, but I'm just going to leave them in maybe another 10 minutes and let that completely separate. At least it should separate. Okay, it's the last 10 minutes and these are coming out whether they want to or not.